Let's see, and the site of BBC.com. Trump gives WHO ultimatum over virus handling. Let's go do it. Mr. Trump accused the UN agency of having an alarming lack of independence from China. United States President Donald Trump has sent a letter to head of the World Health Organization, who, threatening to pull us funding permanently over COVID-19. The letter outlines a 30-day deadline for the body to commit to substantive improvements or risk losing millions and US membership altogether. Addressed to WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, it criticizes the stage of the body's response since December. Earlier on Monday, Mr. Trump called the UN's health body a puppet of China. Man, master of puppets. The president, who faces re-election this year and has himself been criticized for this handling of the pandemic, has blamed China for trying to cover up the outbreak and has accused the WHO of failing to hold Beijing to account. Chinese Foreign Minister spokesman Zhao Lijian said Mr. Trump has tried to mislead the public, smear China, and shifted blame for the US on incompetent response. The US has more than 1.5 million of the world's 4.8 million confirmed cases of coronavirus so far, with more than 19,000 deaths. Mr. Trump's ultimatum also comes at a time of pressure for the WHO. On Monday, Dr. Tedros baked a review of the agency handling of the pandemic. He said an independent evaluation would take place at the earliest appropriate moment. What does the letter say? Mr. Trump published the letter on Twitter on Monday night, following a day of heavy criticism of the health agency. Health Secretary Alex Azar spoke at the WHO's World Health Assembly and accused the organization of letting COVID-19 spin out of control at the cost of many lives. In his letter to Dr. Tedros, the US president accused the WHO of having an alarming lack of independence for China. Among his assertions, Mr. Trump accused the agency of having consistently ignored what he describes as credible reports of the virus spreading in Wuhan at the start of December or even earlier. The US president has repeatedly accused China from failures in its response to the coronavirus outbreak. Beijing denies the allegation. Earlier this month, the Chinese foreign minister said the country had all along been in good communication and cooperation with the WHO and had never attempted to manipulate the organization. Also, in the letter, Mr. Trump cites reports that the WHO delayed an emergency declaration under pressure from President Xi Jinping, criticizes the agency's praise of China's transparency amid its censorship and lack of international cooperation, accused the WHO of failing to comment on the virus-related discrimination against Africans within China. Says Dr. Tedros could have saved many lives if he had acted more like Dr. Harlan Brundtland, the WHO chief during the SARS outbreak of 23. Mr. Trump, in his conclusion, alleges that repeated missteps by Dr. Tedros and the WHO had been extremely costly for the world. The only way forward for the World Health Organization is if it can actually demonstrate independence for China, his letter says. Mr. Trump then calls for the organization to commit to major substantive improvements within 13 or 30 days without clarifying what this means. Without this chance, no, without this chance, the president says that US will make his temporary freeze of US funding permanent and reconsider or membership in the organization altogether. Mr. Trump announced the halting of US payments last month. The country is the largest single contributor to the WHO, accounting for just less than 15% of its funding in the past financial year. The president is seeking a second presidential term in November, and his attack on China are seen as part of this re-election strategy. This is policy. No policy de cops, mas policy ou politique ou whatever involve the politique. Anyway, why is the WHO facing criticism? President Trump is not alone in criticism in the WHO response. The organization has been accused of being too trusting of China and overly praising the country for its approach to the outbreak at Spanish whistleblowers, as it punished whistleblowers who tried to raise the alarm. One WHO tweet from January quoted Chinese investigators saying there was no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission of the virus. It released a statement the following week saying this did in fact seem to be taking place in Wuhan. The UN agency has also been criticized for the time it took to declare coronavirus a global health emergency. And Dr. Tedros strongly defended the organization, told the reporters earlier this month that didn't waste time. On Monday, however, he agreed to an independent review of the WHO's actions. These issues have dominated the two-day World Health Assembly in Geneva. The annual meeting of members of state reviewed the WHO's work, which is scheduled to end on Tuesday. Also at issue is a resolution which would allow poorer countries access to any coronavirus vaccines or treatments that could be developed by private manufacturers. President Xi said on Monday that any vaccine developed in China would be made a global public good. The Financial Times newspaper reports that the US is planning to publicly distance itself from some of the wording in the resolution. It is expected to pass despite any US objections.